So these notes look at two types of composite shapes. In the first type, we find two areas and add them together. And in the second type of composite shape, we subtract. So let's take a look at our first example here. It says, Brianna's little sister loves drawing houses. She always draws them by putting a triangle on top of a rectangle. Find the area and the perimeter of the house that she drew. All right, cool. So we know that we're going to need to know the formula for the area of a triangle and the formula for the area of a rectangle. So the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 times its base times its height, and the area of a rectangle is just equal to the base times the height. So in this case, our triangle is going to be 1/2 times 6 times 4, and our rectangle is just going to be 6 times 5. So we have 12 and 30. So to find the area of the composite shape, or of the house, we would just add these together. So 30 plus 12 is going to give us 42. And let's say this is inches, so 42 square inches. And here's how I'd describe my process. I found the area of the triangle and the rectangle, and I added them together. So this problem goes one step further and also asks us for the perimeter. So our perimeter just refers to the distance around the outside. So not every line segment, just the ones I've highlighted here, the ones around the outside. Well, since I have a rectangle, I know this side is also 5 since it's opposite of a side that has a length of 5. And this side is 6. And I need to think for a minute, what would these two slanted sides on my roof be? Well, I noticed that I have a right triangle here, and my right triangle has a height of 4, and it has a base of 6 divided by 2. Which is 3. So I could redraw my triangle bigger like that. Now, how could I find the hypotenuse? I could just use the Pythagorean Theorem. So here I end up with 25 equals my hypotenuse squared, and the square root of 25 is going to equal 5. So that's C, that's my hypotenuse. So it looks like this is 5 and this is 5, and now I can find my perimeter. Adding together all of my side lengths, I get 26 inches. So one thing I want to point out is that my area is in square units because it measures a flat two-dimensional space, and my perimeter is just in inches because it's measuring a length. Now let's take a look at another example. This example has a skateboard ramp, and it says the front of the skateboard ramp below was constructed by cutting a semicircle, let me highlight that, out of a rectangle. Find the area and perimeter of the front of the skateboard ramp. All right, let me start out by drawing kind of a little dotted line here to show where my rectangle would be. Can you see where I would have had a rectangle there, but a piece has been cut out? So since I know I have a rectangle and a semicircle to think about, let me write down my formula for those two shapes. Cool, it's going to be easy to find the area of the rectangle. I can see that my base is 40 and my height is 15, so I just need to multiply 40 times 15. The semicircle may be a little bit trickier because I can't see the radius right away. How do you think I could find the radius? Well, I know that the top side of my rectangle must be 40 feet. So if I add 8 feet plus 8 feet plus the diameter of that circle, I'll get 40. Adding my 8's together, I get that 16 plus d equals 40. And subtracting 40 minus 16, I get 24. So the diameter of that circle is 24. Since the diameter is 24, the radius must be 12. Cool, now I can find the area of that semicircle. It's going to be 1/2 pi times 12 squared. And that comes out to around 226 square feet. This time, to find the area of the composite shape, I want to subtract a semicircle from the rectangle since it's a piece that I cut out. And that gives me 374 square feet. So if I'm going to explain my process here, I found the area of my rectangle and then the area of my semicircle, and then I subtracted. So what if I wanted to find the perimeter of this shape? That would be like, that was a little bit squiggly, but it would be like that, right? Well, I know I'm going to add up 15, 15, 48, and 8, and then I also need to find the length of this curve right here. So what would the length of that part of the ramp be? Well, what I can do is take half of the circumference of that circle that would be around there, right? I already know my radius. Remember, we said that this has a radius of 12. So the length of the semicircle is half of the circumference, so that means it's 1/2 times 2 pi r, and r is 12. Adding everything else together, I get 86. 86 plus 12 pi, which is equal approximately to 123.7 feet. So finding the perimeter is just about adding up all of the sides around the outside of a shape. And finding the area of a composite shape can be done in two ways. Sometimes we use addition and sometimes we use subtraction. But either way, we find out by finding the area of each shape and then either adding or subtracting depending on the context of the problem.